Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tune Project. Today I'll be teaching you how to play the tune Morrison's Jig on the fiddle, so stay tuned. If you end up enjoying this video and finding it to be useful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up below, and if you're not yet subscribed to the Tune Project, I post videos just like this one each and every week, so consider hitting that red subscribe button below along with the notification bell so that you never miss when I upload a new video. As always, the timestamps will be listed below if you'd like to skip around, and you can always adjust the speed in your video settings. Now grab your fiddle and let's get into it. Now this is a jig, so of course we are in 6/8 time, and the first phrase begins on E on the D string, and it goes like this. Okay, so you'll notice we have a lot of this long, short rhythm throughout this tune. We have a mix of quarter notes and eighth notes, and then sets of 3 eighth notes at a time. So be sure to put a little bit more emphasis on the rhythm as you're learning this by ear over the notes. You can always do a second pass or a third pass if you need to of this video to catch the notes, but this first time, see if you can really pay attention to the rhythm. And here is our second phrase. All right, and then our third phrase is the same as the first phrase, so hopefully you recognize these notes. Okay, and then our last phrase of this A section begins on the D string with a third finger G, and it goes like this. So we had a little descending scale pattern at the end there, and that is the whole A section. So it's pretty short, and the form of this tune is A-A-B, so the B section does not repeat, but it is a little bit longer than the A section, which you'll learn here in just a couple of minutes. But before that, let's go ahead and play this A section together at a slow tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, now getting into this B section, we have some fun string crossings beginning in the first phrase. So let's go ahead and start on the A string with a B. Okay, so we had some alternating open E's there, and then a little descending scale at the end of that phrase. We start the next phrase the same way, beginning on B and then going up to open E. This next phrase is almost the same as the first phrase of the B part, but the ending is just a little bit different rhythmically, so listen for that. And then this next phrase starts with a descending scale beginning on G on the E string, and goes like this. All right, now this is the point in the B section where it sounds like it should repeat back to the beginning, and in a way it sort of does. We kind of go back to the opening phrase of the B part, but it goes into a slightly different section. So you'll notice the melody changes a little bit. The notes are slightly different than they were in the first half of the B section. Okay, moving on, we're starting on a B, and again alternating with those open E's. All right, so all of that is pretty much the same as what we've had so far, and this is where the melody changes a little bit, and for this next phrase we're starting on a G with our second finger on the E string. Okay, so rhythmically, we kind of do a callback to the A section with the quarter note, eighth note figure there. And our last phrase goes like this. So even though it might sound a little bit out of place, we do have a C sharp in there in that last phrase, so make sure to play that accurately with your second finger on the A string. So now that we've gotten through both sections, let's go ahead and play this B section together at a slow tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so let's talk about some things that we can incorporate into this melody to make it sound just a little bit more interesting. So first of all, I'll go ahead and play this first phrase. You'll notice I'm going to add in a few double stops, so listen for that. All right, so I'm sort of just throwing in little pops of double stops. So it ends up enhancing the rhythm a little bit more. And again, we're placing emphasis on the rhythm more so than anything else here. And the double stops are just kind of highlighting that. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping my first finger between the D and A strings. So on E and on B. And that way we can get a nice E minor chord there. And then you can also throw in double stops there at the end on those last couple of notes as I did. And then in the second phrase, I pretty much do the same thing. I'm just sort of highlighting a select couple of notes with double stops just to add a little bit of color. And this second phrase goes like this. Okay, so just throwing in a few here and there, just kind of peppering in some double stops. And keep in mind as we're going through here, the double stops that you add in don't have to match exactly with mine. This is just kind of giving you an overview or a little bit of a guide with how you can sort of approach double stops and ornaments within this tune. And this next phrase, of course, will be the same as the first phrase. For this next phrase, I'm going to add in a few more double stops along with a hammer-on, and it'll sound like this. Okay, so we're starting with the hammer-on, going from F sharp to G there right in the very beginning, along with an open G, so we have an octave double stop, and then we are throwing in double stops on that whole last measure, all of those 6/8 notes. So the bow will be between the D and A strings there. So now that we've gotten through the whole A section, I will go ahead and play it for you with the double stops so that you can hear how everything sounds. All right, so there's that A section, again, just giving you some ideas. For this B section, we are shifting a little bit away from double stops and moving into more of a traditional Irish ornament, which is the grace note, the flick. And you'll hear that in this very first part of the first phrase, and it goes like this. Okay, so we're really just adding the flick on the two F sharps that we have in that first phrase, and I'm using my third finger to just very quickly flick the E string for those notes. And then moving on to the next phrase, we're gonna do the same thing here with adding in a couple of flicks. So you can do the same thing just on the first F sharp, and then the second F sharp you can also do the same thing, but the note pattern is slightly different since we have a little walk down. So what I did there was I just added a very subtle flick using the G natural note, so the second finger instead. This third phrase of the B part will be the same as the first phrase, so again with those couple of flicks on the F sharp. All right, so even though the note pattern at the end is a little bit different, you can still throw that flick in there. And for this next phrase, we're adding in a couple more flicks, and I also like to change up the bowing here to emphasize the rhythm. So I'm gonna go ahead and slur from this pickup note into the downbeat of this measure here, and you'll notice how it sort of changes the way the rhythm comes across. So I'm just slurring the pickups of those two measures into the downbeat and then adding in a flick as well. This next phrase is the same as the first one of the B part. So again, we have the same little ornaments that we're throwing in. And for this next phrase, we've also seen these notes before and the ornament pattern. So I'll go ahead and play it just as a review. For this next phrase, we're adding in a flick on the third G of the very opening, and it sounds like this. Okay, and you can go ahead and add in a little slur like I did there if you would like. And this next phrase, the last phrase of the B section, we have another flick in the second half. So listen for that. And again, just like we saw earlier, I went ahead and slurred the pickup note into the downbeat along with a flick into the B. So let's go back to the beginning of this B part and I will play the whole thing for you so that you can hear all of those flicks that we just added. And then of course from there we would go back to the very beginning of the tune and just loop it as many times as you would like. So that's just an idea of some things that you can add into the tune Morrison's Jig. I really hope you enjoyed learning that one along with some of those double stops and flicks. Again, you know, these ornaments, if you're not familiar with them, they do take practice, so don't get frustrated with yourself if you find that you're not quite getting them right away. Just take the time to maybe practice with an open string or just a couple of notes and then see if you can incorporate them a little bit more into the melody of this tune. And I think you'll be happy with the result of that. Thanks so much for watching and for your continued support. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Happy practicing.